When my disabled daughter's scream pierced the air, I never expected to find our HOA president dangling her from a ceiling fan. 5 minutes after police saw the security footage, Karen was in handcuffs. But her cruelty unleashed something unexpected in our neighborhood. A wave of compassion that would change everything. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more Karen stories. The scream that came from my daughter's room made my blood run cold. I dropped everything and ran, my heart pounding in my chest. What I saw when I burst through Lily's door would haunt me forever. Karen Williams, the head of our neighborhood homeowners association, had tied Lily's special sensory scarf, the one she always kept with her for comfort, to the ceiling fan. The fan was spinning at high speed, with my terrified 12-year-old daughter desperately clutching at the scarf that was wrapped around her wrist, pulling her upward. Lily's feet were barely touching the ground as she struggled to keep her balance. "Mom, help me," Lily cried, her unseeing eyes wide with terror. Born with a rare condition that took both her sight and limited her mobility, Lily couldn't free herself. I lunged forward and hit the fan switch, immediately stopping it. I caught Lily as she stumbled, quickly unwrapping the scarf from her wrist. There was already a red mark forming where it had pulled against her skin. "What are you doing?" I screamed at Karen, positioning myself between her and my daughter. Karen stood there with a cold, calculated look. Teaching a lesson about rule violations. Those wind chimes were against HOA regulations. "I've given you 3 warnings already." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You could have seriously hurt her. She's a child, a disabled child." "Not my problem," Karen replied without a hint of remorse. "The bylaws clearly state no exterior noise-making decorations. You signed the agreement when you moved in." "They were inside her bedroom window," I said, my entire body shaking with fear and rage. "Which faces the community garden." Mrs. Peterson complained she couldn't enjoy her roses with that constant tinkling. Karen glanced at the broken wind chimes she'd apparently smashed before this dangerous stunt. "Consider this your final warning. Next time will be worse." After she left, I gathered Lily in my arms. "We'll get new ones, sweetheart. Even better ones." "It won't matter," Lily whispered, still trembling from the ordeal. "She'll just break those too. Or worse." That night I couldn't sleep. My hands still shook when I thought about what could have happened if I hadn't heard Lily's scream. The ceiling fan spun slowly above my bed, a grim reminder of how close I'd come to losing my precious daughter to Karen's cruelty. Since my husband David passed away 3 years ago from a sudden heart attack while on a business trip, it had been just Lily and me against the world. The insurance money had given us a chance to start fresh, away from the pitying looks of neighbors who had known us when we were a complete family. We'd moved to Oakwood Estates because of its excellent school district and the specialized program for visually impaired students. The program offered one-on-one support with trained teachers who understood Lily's specific needs. The house had stretched our budget to its breaking point, requiring me to take a second job working evenings from home, but Lily's education was worth every sacrifice. What I hadn't counted on was Karen Williams and her iron-fisted rule over the HOA. The realtor had mentioned there was an active homeowners association, but had glossed over just how restrictive their regulations were, and how ruthlessly they were enforced. In the 6 months we'd lived here, she'd cited us for everything from the shade of our mailbox, apparently eggshell, was approved but off-white, was not, to the height of our lawn, apparently 1/8 of an inch too tall on inspection day. The ramp we'd installed for Lily's wheelchair on days when her mobility was particularly limited had resulted in 3 separate violation notices, despite my multiple attempts to submit the proper paperwork for medical accommodations. Each citation came with a warning, then a fine, then increased fines. I tried reasoning with Karen at the monthly HOA meetings, explaining Lily's condition and our needs, but she dismissed my concerns with a wave of her manicured hand. "Rules don't bend for personal circumstances," she'd announced loudly, making an example of me in front of all our neighbors, who sat silently, eyes downcast, too afraid to speak up. But endangering my daughter's safety? That wasn't just crossing a line, it was criminal. And it was time someone stood up to her, not just for Lily's sake, but for everyone in the neighborhood who lived under her tyranny. The next morning, I called my sister Janet, who worked as a disability rights attorney in the city. After our parents died, Janet had become my rock, always there when I needed her most. She'd helped us navigate the medical system when Lily was first diagnosed, and had been a constant source of support through David's death and our move. She did what? Janet's voice rose in disbelief when I told her what had happened. "Tied Lily's scarf to the ceiling fan and turned it on while Lily was attached to it," I said, still shaking with anger and fear. "She could have seriously injured her, Janet." Lily could have been pulled right off her feet, or the fan could have come down from the ceiling with her weight pulling on it. That's assault, child endangerment, breaking and entering. I'm calling the police right now, Janet said. Do you have proof? This is serious, Sarah. This woman needs to be stopped before she hurts someone else. I hesitated. Our doorbell camera would have caught her entering, and Lily's room has a security camera. We'd installed it when Lily was younger and had seizures so I could monitor her from anywhere in the house. It had been David's idea. He was always thinking ahead, always looking for ways to keep our daughter safe. Send me that footage immediately, Janet said. And Sarah? Don't wait. Call the police now. This is attempted assault on a minor. My hands trembled as I dialed 911. Within 15 minutes, 2 police officers were at our door. Officer Reynolds was older, with kind eyes that crinkled at the corners when he spoke softly to Lily. His partner, Officer Chin, was younger and more serious, taking detailed notes as I explained what had happened. They reviewed the security footage, which clearly showed Karen entering Lily's room, breaking the wind chimes, then taking Lily's sensory scarf and tying it to the ceiling fan before grabbing Lily's arm and attaching the scarf to her wrist. The footage caught everything, including the moment I rushed in to save my daughter. The officers' faces grew increasingly grim as they watched. Ma'am, we're going to need to take this footage as evidence, Officer Reynolds said. This is a very serious matter. Officer Chin was already on his radio, requesting backup to make an arrest at Karen's address. Will you need Lily to make a statement? I asked, worried about putting my daughter through more trauma. The video is quite clear, Officer Reynolds said. But we may need to talk with her later with a child advocate present. For now, we're going to arrest Ms. Williams. What I didn't expect was the knock on our door just 5 minutes after the officers left. Lily was sitting with me on the couch, still shaken from the morning's events. I had called her school to let them know she wouldn't be coming in today, and the principal, who knew about Lily's condition, had been supportive and concerned. I opened the door to find Officer Reynolds and 3 other police officers with Karen Williams in handcuffs between them. Her designer suit was wrinkled, her perfectly coiffed hair now disheveled, but the most striking change was in her face, a mask of outrage and disbelief. You can't do this to me. Do you know who I am? I'm the president of the Oakwood Estates HOA, she was shouting. My husband is on the city council. You'll all lose your jobs for this. Officer Reynolds looked at me, ignoring Karen's threats. Miss Thompson, we wanted to let you know that Ms. Williams has been arrested on multiple charges including breaking and entering, assault on a minor, child endangerment, and destruction of property. We also found this in her pocket. He handed me a small evidence bag containing Lily's silver music box, the precious keepsake from her father that Karen had apparently stolen during her intrusion. The music box was small and silver, with a delicate engraving of a lily on the lid. Inside, when opened, it played "You Are My Sunshine," the song David used to sing to Lily every night before bed. It was one of the few tangible connections Lily still had to her father, and Karen had stolen it as if it meant nothing. Karen's face twisted with rage when she saw me. This isn't over. You're violating HOA regulations and I'll have you evicted. Those wind chimes are against the bylaws. Ma'am, you need to remain silent, one of the officers warned her. You're facing serious felony charges. I was enforcing the rules. Karen insisted as they led her to the police car. Those wind chimes were a violation. Assaulting a disabled child is not enforcing rules, Officer Reynolds said firmly. It's a crime. As they put Karen in the back of the police car, neighbors began emerging from their homes, witnessing the HOA tyrant being taken away in handcuffs. The expressions on their faces ranged from shock to what looked strangely like relief. Mrs. Chin from next door caught my eye and gave me a small, approving nod. Mr. Rodriguez from across the street actually clapped briefly before his wife shushed him. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Karen was denied bail due to the seriousness of the charges and the risk she posed to Lily and potentially other children in the neighborhood. The judge was particularly disturbed by the security footage showing Karen's deliberate endangerment of a disabled child. The prosecutor, a no-nonsense woman named Maria Gonzalez, called me personally to discuss the case. I've been wanting to get Karen Williams for years, she confided. We've had complaints about her before but never with such clear evidence. She's not going to walk away from this one. A search warrant executed at Karen's home revealed much more than we expected. The police discovered she'd been embezzling from the HOA funds for years and using her position to steal from homes throughout the neighborhood. The evidence included meticulously kept records of which houses had security systems, which residents were regularly away, and even notes on valuable items she'd spotted during HOA inspections. The HOA board, horrified by the scandal and afraid of multiple lawsuits, immediately approved all of Lily's accommodations and issued a formal apology. The new interim president, Mr. Johnson, a retired judge who had apparently been intimidated into silence by Karen for years, personally delivered the apology letter and a gift basket for Lily filled with sensory toys and audiobooks. But the most remarkable change came from our neighbors. Once Karen's reign of terror ended, people emerged from their shells. Mrs. Chun brought over homemade dumplings and taught Lily how to fold them by feel, guiding her hands gently through the process. The Rodriguez family offered to help build a better ramp for our front door and installed it the following weekend, with 5 other neighbors showing up to help. Mr. Peterson, husband of the Rose Garden lady who had supposedly complained about Lily's wind chimes, turned out to be a retired music teacher who offered Lily piano lessons, saying that her keen sense of hearing gave her a natural advantage. "We were all afraid of her," Mrs. Rodriguez admitted when she came to visit, bringing a homemade tres leches cake. "She threatened everyone with fines, liens on properties, even evictions. No one dared to stand up to her. Until your security camera caught her," Mr. Peterson added, patting Lily's hand gently. "You freed the whole neighborhood." The local news picked up the story, and soon we were receiving letters and emails from people all over the state who had experienced similar HOA abuses. One family sent Lily a gift card to her favorite bookstore for audiobooks. Another, whose son had the same visual impairment as Lily, reached out to share resources and coping strategies. 1 month after Karen's arrest, we held a small gathering in our backyard, a direct violation of Karen's "no gatherings over 6 people" rule. Nearly the entire neighborhood came, bringing food, drinks, and most importantly, friendship. The community that had seemed so cold and unwelcoming under Karen's rule now felt like home. During the party, Mrs. Chun approached me with a large package wrapped in colorful paper. "For Lily," she said softly. "From all of us." Lily unwrapped it carefully, her fingers exploring the gift. It was a beautiful set of wind chimes, but unlike any I'd seen before. They were made of different materials: glass, metal, wood, ceramic, each producing a distinctive sound. "We all contributed something," Mrs. Rodriguez explained. "Each family gave a piece that makes a unique sound. Mr. Johnson, who works with metal, designed it so each section creates a different note depending on which direction Lily is facing in her room." Lily's fingers traced the wind chimes, tears streaming down her face. "I can tell which direction I'm facing by the sound," she whispered in awe. "And that's not all," Mr. Peterson added. "We've created similar sets for your garden, the front porch, and the path to the mailbox. Each area has its own unique sound signature." I couldn't hold back my tears. "Why would you all do this?" Mrs. Chin patted my hand. "Because we were all afraid of Karen too. Your courage freed us all." Later that evening, as I helped Lily hang her new wind chimes, she asked me a question that caught me off guard. "Mom, should we feel bad for Karen?" I nearly dropped the hammer. "Feel bad for her? After what she did to you?" Lily's unseeing eyes somehow still held wisdom beyond her years. "She must be very unhappy to do something so mean. Now she's in jail and everyone knows what she did." I sat beside her on the bed, marveling at my daughter's capacity for compassion. "You're right in a way. Unhappy people often try to make others unhappy too. But what she did was dangerous and wrong, and she needs to face the consequences. Like how Dad used to say, our choices shape who we become," Lily said thoughtfully. The wind caught the chimes just then, sending a cascade of beautiful notes through the room. Each sound distinct, each note purposeful. 6 months later, I sat in the courtroom as Karen Williams was sentenced to 5 years in prison for her crimes. The judge was particularly harsh about her targeting a disabled child and putting her in physical danger. "The court cannot ignore the deliberate and calculated nature of your actions," the judge said. "You used your position of authority to terrorize an entire neighborhood, and worse, you specifically targeted a vulnerable child. This sentence reflects the severity of your actions and the need to protect society from such behavior." As they led Karen away, our eyes met briefly. There was no remorse there, only bitter anger. I felt a momentary pang of pity for someone so consumed by control and hatred that she couldn't see the community she destroyed. That evening, we celebrated by installing the final set of wind chimes. These along the community garden path where Lily had started taking walks with Mrs. Chen to learn about plants by their smell and texture. The garden, once Karen's pride and joy, had been transformed into a sensory experience for everyone, with fragrant herbs, interesting textures, and now beautiful sounds. "Mom," Lily said as we listened to the gentle music of the wind moving through our neighborhood. I can find my way anywhere now. I squeezed her hand, thinking about how far we'd come. Yes, you can, sweetheart. Yes, you can. The wind picked up, carrying the mingled sounds of dozens of wind chimes, each one different, each one part of a greater whole. Just like our neighborhood had become. Sometimes the darkest storms bring the most beautiful music. And sometimes just as sounds like wind chimes in the breeze.